Crockett from Texas.
Thank you so much. I've just got a couple of questions. Number one, seemingly my colleagues from the other side of the aisle have decided that migrants are somehow synonymous with cartels and the drug trade. Is that something that you can agree with, that migrants are synonymous with the cartel and the drug trade? Each of you.
I'll take it first. I think certainly migrants, the vast majority, are potentially vulnerable to exploitation by cartels.
I would concur with that. The migrant community can be exploited by cartels and other nefarious actors. Correct.
Thank you. Additionally, we've heard a lot of talk about seemingly open borders under President Biden, and there's almost an insinuation that the cartels are somehow in cahoots with Democrats, and that's the reason that things like, more fentanyl is coming across the border. I would imagine that both of you agree with me that there is no evidence that there is any agreement with the administration to allow for nefarious actors from cartels to get their drugs across the border, correct?
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that also.
Okay, finally, before I move on to Texas, we talked about the fact that you seemingly have implemented a lot of different tools in dealing with cartels. And I think one of the things that my colleagues don't understand is the level of sophistication that these cartels have. Seemingly, they believe if you get more dogs, then that's going to resolve all the issues that we have with the drug trade. Would you agree with me that it is important to employ every single tool that you can find, including technology, because as you do one thing, the cartel advances and they change, and they are basically a moving target at times, because this is what criminal enterprises do?
Agree that it is a comprehensive whole-of-government issue. Technology, canines, our personnel, which are our most valuable resource, all critical tools. Certainly advanced information, partnerships with our other government, law enforcement partners, as well as international partnerships, all play a role.
You just mentioned something that really matters a lot to me. You mentioned international partners. For some reason, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle continue to insinuate that immigration is just a U.S. issue. But you'd agree with me that it does take partners being in communication about what's going on and their help in enforcing and making sure that some of these people never even make it to our border, correct?
Yes, and certainly agree with Director Salisbury in highlighting, identifying pathways.
Yeah, no, essentially, without our foreign relationships, our ability to combat TCOs would be very one-dimensional and domestically based. And certainly HSI's goal is to work with the partners, the foreign partners, make them better, and push these crimes and criminal activities further away from our own borders.
Okay, and finally, my colleague from Texas brought up some Texas things. Let's talk about when we get a Republican policy on immigration. We've talked about Governor Abbott, who is a failure on so many accounts in my book, but let's talk about what happened when he decided that he was going to employ his enhanced security tactics. I don't know how many of you remember this. We don't have Fox News on here, but we do have CNN, as well as the Texas Tribune, and exactly what they said about that. We know that in the midst of the pandemic, we were having supply chain issues. Unfortunately, whatever policy that our Republican governor decided to employ, instead, what it did was it cost us hundreds of millions of dollars and literally rotting food. So my question to you is, I know that you are not policy wonks, and I applaud you for not having to do the policy side of things. But right now, what we're dealing with is one team that is arguing that the borders are somehow open, seemingly because of Democratic policies, regardless as to whether or not they specifically said that. That is what they are insinuating. And it is my understanding that y'all work hard every single day, whether there's a Democrat that is in control or whether there's a Republican. And so my question to you, my final question, has to do with Operation Lone Star and Governor Abbott. If we were to employ similar tactics to what was employed during this time, do you believe that this would be more helpful or less helpful to the U.S. American people?
You know, with respect to ports of entry, they're economic engines, and it is really important for us to be able to be effective and efficient in managing the flow of traffic through our ports of entry. And, you know, solutions, you know, that result in impeding commerce can be incredibly challenging for the economy. But we're always working with our partners to find ways to work together to ensure, you know, that we're enforcing, you know, counter narcotics, counter terrorism missions, while at the same time making sure that we're not putting up impediments to that lawful throughput of travel and trade.
Thank you so much.